Good morning. I'm Kevin Capel, Vice President of Investor Development and Engagement at the Greenville Chamber. Thank you for joining us this morning for our Community Matters series. We host these webinars every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. And you can find our past recordings as well as the upcoming schedule on the Chamber website. That's www.greenvillechamber.org. We'd like to take a moment to relay some housekeeping. All attendees should be on mute. I would like to encourage all attendees to submit questions through the chat feature, which you will find below in the icon. At the Greenville Chamber, we have a deep understanding that the work we do perhaps matters more now than ever. Our vision of a global competitive upstate economy where businesses succeed and people prosper has been our North Star. We want you to know that we remain committed to helping you succeed while also being a part of your recovery. We want to use this time today to provide an update of what's going on around the Chamber and connect you with Chamber leadership to have your questions answered. I'm joined this morning by our Senior VP of Advocacy, Jason Zacher, and our President and CEO, Carlos Phillips. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Awesome. Carlos, let's start with you, if we may, for a quick status update of the Chamber. Can you share with the attendees what's going on and where our efforts have been focused during the past month?
Sure. But first, Kevin, thank you for having me on today's webcast. There's been a lot going on at the Chamber over the past month or so. We've launched this program, the Community Matters webcast, as a way to share information with our business community and to keep it informed. And we're approaching 1,000 engagements on this Community Matters webcast right now. So it's been a really great source of information for our community. Of course, early on in this pandemic, we launched the Employer Resource Guide, which is chock full of helpful information for businesses. And we've had almost 4,000 page views on that site since we launched it at the end of March. So a lot of folks have been visiting that platform for valuable and updated information. It's really been great. We launched a survey, the Business Impact Survey, to measure how businesses in our community have been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. And it's no secret that businesses have been significantly impacted by that. But what that survey really underscored was the impact that has happened to our smaller and our minority-owned businesses. It's really been challenging for them. And then we recently, in partnership with the city and the county, launched the Business Recovery Task Force, which is tasked with generating ideas and solutions that will help our local economy recover as quickly and as safely as possible. So those are just a few things that have been going on in the past month or so.
Carlos, thanks. Let's take a moment and pivot just a moment and segue back into and discuss a little bit regarding the Business Impact Survey you mentioned. These results have been directing much of our work and helpful and helping us to focus in our efforts. So, Carlos, can you share some of the key takeaways from that survey as well as how those results have been used at the Chamber?
First of all, I'd say we had about 330 respondents to that survey. And of those respondents, about 3/4 of them were small businesses. So those businesses with fewer than 50 employees and generating less than $5 million per year in revenue. And I got to say, half of those respondents generate less than $1 million in revenue. So it was truly representative of the small business perspective. About 70% of those businesses who replied, either they have applied or they plan to apply for one of the provisions of the CARES Act. And so what that means is these businesses need a lot of help, and they're seeking financial assistance through that CARES Act. Businesses have lost considerable revenue during this pandemic. The businesses that responded to this survey indicated that they saw about a 43% reduction in revenue in March. And in April, that reduction is expected to be even greater, about 47%. So revenues have really been negatively impacted. And there were several other findings from the survey as well, but what this really underscores is that, again, businesses need help, particularly as it relates to increasing their access to cash and capital. In terms of they're helping businesses, they need help attracting more customers as we recover and come out of this pandemic. Businesses are seeking confidence that it is safe to do business, and also consumers are seeking confidence as well that it is safe to enter businesses and shop and eat and conduct business there. And then finally, businesses are seeking communication. They're seeking credible, knowledgeable information that can help them make wise, sound, and informed decisions as they reopen and as our economy recovers.
Thank you, Carlos. Definitely the survey has been very key in our direction at the Chamber, as well as relaying information.
And Kevin, let me interject for just a moment and say, this survey is serving as the basis of the work for the Business Recovery Task Force that I spoke of earlier. We're developing, coming up with ideas, and we're aligning those ideas with those 4 C's that I just mentioned: the cash, the customers, confidence, and communication. So this survey is not only a great source of information, but it is informing the dialogue and discussion of that Business Recovery Task Force.
Great point. Great point. Thank you, Carlos. Jason, let's shift gears and let's start with the state level. The governor's reissued a state of emergency order for South Carolina. Break down what this means and how it impacts upstate businesses for those attending.
Yeah, so the governor reissued that state of emergency yesterday, as well as his stay at home or work order. And the governor is only allowed to do those on a 15-day rolling cycle. So he is reauthorizing those every 15 days. The current one will extend through the 12th, I believe. So that's the Tuesday after Mother's Day. So that's sort of that'll be the next time he will decide what to do. As we know, schools are closed through the end of the year. And that was by an executive order last week. But some of these restrictions have been loosened a little bit. So earlier in the chat, I've posted the list of things that are businesses that are still supposed to be closed by executive order. And I'm going to post the list of things that are allowed to be reopened now, barring some restrictions to how many people can be in the business, et cetera, et cetera. There are some of those capacity restrictions that the governor put in place, as well as social distancing restrictions. But a lot of those things are allowed to be reopened. So when you hear about the stay-at-home order, a lot of that really is intended to stop social gatherings, stop gatherings on the beaches, stop gatherings on lakes and public parks and things like that. It's less about what goes on in business. The 3 or more requirement does not apply to businesses. So if you have those folks in your establishment, no one's going to come in and start citing people. That you are exempted. And if you are a business that's allowed to be open, you're exempted from that. So I'll post both those in the chat here in a second. As I already posted the ones that are still supposed to be closed. In addition to that list, though, also restaurants are still on takeout for now. They're not allowed to be reopened for any kind of in restaurant or in establishment is where I was looking for dining. So what does it mean for upstate business? Well, as Carlos was mentioning a minute ago, you're talking about cash, customers, confidence, and those are big things right now. Customers are not allowed to come in en masse into your stores. The stay-at-home order has a psychological effect too, because the curve is flattened but has not started going down yet. There is concern at the state level that we make sure that that we still are staying at home largely and only going out to shop at some of these stores when it's necessary. So I think that's something to keep in mind, that while you are allowed to go out, you can go to these stores. And I think we would encourage you to support small business and to support your community businesses. At the same time, it's important that you take your precautions and make sure that we don't wind up spreading the disease any further than we already are. With that said, I will say the Chamber is in almost daily contact with state leaders, including the governor's office, about what's going on. There is a plan. They do have plans. I know the governor has met with Dr. Bell at DHEC on a daily basis, getting updated numbers and her advice on what is supposed to be happening. And so you'll start seeing some things the next couple of weeks, I think, that more of these will be lifted slowly, but I wouldn't expect a full reopening of all businesses like you saw, say, in Georgia for a while yet. I don't think that's where South Carolina's leadership is at this time.
Right. And to all those participating and attending, we also have resources available on our Chamber website under our employee resource guide that provides information as well as what Jason is relaying. Take a moment and let's look at the federal level now, Jason. Let's look and discuss round 2 of the stimulus recently passed. What are you seeing, and what do investors need to know about the second round of stimulus?
So it's actually sort of the 5th round of stimulus, I think, is going to be coming. You had 2, and then you had the CARES Act, and then you had the reauthorization and refunding of the payroll protection plan and the EIDL loans last week. And of course, that all went live yesterday. Immediately, the SBA website crashed again, I heard. And so there's still a lot of frustration with trying to get those loans, which is where I'll kind of segue next. Congress is looking for ideas on what to do next. And I think that the next bill that comes out when Congress returns in another week or so, they will look to fix the problems with the original CARES Act. So the intent of the CARES Act was to push money out as fast as possible. There were going to be mistakes made. There were going to be problems. Normally, as a lot of anyone who watches Congress knows, when you pass a law, there are months of waiting time between when the law is passed and when some of those things happen while they write the regulations. Well, in this case, they did that in a week. So there are going to be mistakes made, and I think they understood that. What I would encourage our investors to do now is to email us at advocacy@greenvillechamber.org with your success stories and your challenges. We need both of those. And I've been talking to Graham's office, Scott's office, Congressman Timmons, Congressman Duncan, and they are asking us for the stories. They want to know what needs to be fixed. And I think they're still working on some things like that. So, for example, one of the things I've heard is going to be in the new bill will be helping other 501c nonprofit organizations. Right now, only 501c3s, and I can't remember the distinction for veterans organizations, C18 or something like that. Those were allowed, but all the rest of them were not. So there's going to be some things like that that are changed for nonprofits. But also, I've heard that they're looking hard at some of the restrictions and some of the challenges sole proprietors and other folks have had, other 1099 employees have had in getting some of these loans that they were allegedly allowed to go after, but the underwriting has been significantly more stringent than I think that the Congress intended. So you'll see some of those things, I think, in the next bill. But again, they're really asking for input. And so just like with the governor's office, we're speaking with Senator Graham, Senator Scott on a regular basis, as well as Congressman Timmons, Congressman Duncan. So please send us what you're hearing, and that way we can compile it and get it on to them so that they know what the issues are inside their district. And so anything else to need to know, again, get us the information. As far as the PPP, that was reopened yesterday. The first round of $350 billion ran dry in about 2 weeks. I think there was a lot of pent-up demand. A lot of folks were getting applications into banks, and so I think the banks were ready to unload a whole bunch of applications yesterday. So we'll see what happens in the coming weeks. Will that be refilled again? I don't know. That might be something that happens in another round, especially if it looks like this is going to last longer than 8 weeks, because the initial CARES Act was really only supposed to be for 8 weeks. But I think a lot of states are going to be looking at some of these social distancing and some of these closures moving obviously into June. And that was really not their intent, I think, when Congress passed that bill last month.
Right. Thank you, Jason. Appreciate that. And again, if there are questions for those who are attending, please utilize the group chat function to ask those questions. that we'll review and relay to the Jason and Carlos in just a little while. Carlos, let's talk about the focus of the recovery. Can you share some insight about the Greenville Recovery Task Force effort?
Yeah, I'd love to, Kevin. The Business Recovery Task Force, we held our first meeting last Thursday. And again, this group is tasked with identifying the needs of our business community and also developing and implementing solutions that will help our economy recover as quickly and as safely as possible. The group met last Thursday, and as I said, about 20 business and community leaders, very diverse group in terms of industry sector, business size, geography throughout Greenville County and what have you. So we met as a larger group via Zoom because we decided not to meet in person. But that was the first meeting. But at that meeting, following that meeting, we split the group into smaller groups. So the task force was split into smaller groups. We have 9 small groups that are digging down a little deeper into the issues and concerns and also presenting more specific solutions. Those small groups include how to get people back to work. There's a small business specific group. There's a small group on finance and resources, a group on HR and legal concerns, communications, restoring travel and tourism to Greenville. There's a public health and healthcare small group. There's an office opportunities group. And then we've also created a sports and events group as well. So as you can see, we're digging down pretty deep. The small groups have been meeting yesterday and today, and we'll reconvene and we'll present ideas from each of those small groups, again, designed to facilitate a robust and safe return and opening of our economy. It's a great group of folks who are really investing some time that and they have a lot going on in their own businesses right now, but they're really investing time for the greater good of our community. And that's really great to see, and I'm really not surprised by that because that's how Greenville approaches business. That's how we got to where we are today, and I'm glad to see that we're continuing on that path.
Thank you, Carlos. I know that we certainly appreciate all those that are participating and involved in the Recovery Task Force and their efforts. Carlos, would you mind sharing briefly the Chamber's own return to work plan?
Yeah, I will. I won't go into the level of detail that the plan entails. Liz Horton has done a wonderful job of drafting the Chamber's own return to work plan. We've been working from home since March the 17th. But it was necessary for us to put some thoughts together on how we will return. So we have that plan drafted. It appears that we will start a phased return to the office on May the 18th. But there's a caveat to that return. And the caveat is we will not begin a phased return until we feel that it's safe and healthy for our folks to return to the office. And by safe and healthy, one of the primary concerns is will we have the PPE, the personal protection equipment, available for our office to be a safe environment. And that PPE includes face masks for staff and for visitors, hand sanitizer. We've been exploring the gallon jugs of sanitizer. We've been exploring sanitizer that we leave at the front counter and key work areas there at the Chamber, and also individual bottles of sanitizer as well for each of our folks. So it's got to be safe to return to work. The plan includes social distancing counsel and advice as well. We probably won't be welcoming outside visitors for a little bit. That'll be probably in a later phase of the plan. We won't host large group meetings or anything like that. I think the plan calls for more one-on-one meetings, and even with those one-on-one meetings, we'll be socially distanced. And so it's a pretty detailed plan. It is phased. Also, we won't have all of our associates in the office at the same time. Our schedule, we will platoon. So we'll have a group A, Monday, Wednesday through Friday, and then a group B, Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then the next group will swap that out. Group B will be in the office Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and group A on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So it's pretty detailed. It's one that fits. It's one that fits the chamber. It fits what we need, and it's one that will allow us to continue to deliver value to the business community while also remaining safe.
Thank you, Carlos. I know as a staff member of the chamber, we certainly appreciate the effort put into this and greatly appreciate that. Part of the tradition of Community That Matters is the ending with a message of hope. And before we take questions, Carlos, do you have a message you'd like to share?
Well, I think folks have heard my message of hope now for the past over the past month or so, and it really hasn't changed much. The message of hope starts with acknowledging what we've overcome so far. The past month or so has been pretty challenging for not only for Greenville, but for our region, our state, and our country. And we're experiencing something and experiencing the impacts of something for which it's really not our fault, but we're having to deal with it. Having said that, I think the challenges that we've experienced over the past month will make us stronger people, stronger organizations, and I think it'll make our community stronger as well. And I do see light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, I can see the sun breaking through the night, and we're coming out of this. We're emerging from this, and it seems as if we're going to emerge from this stronger than when we entered it. I know our organization at the chamber, we've been forced to innovate. We've been forced to deliver value in ways that we have not before. There were some things that we had been considering, but we just put them off and said, well, we'll wait for another time to do that. Well, we've had to take those ideas off the shelf, dust them off, and implement them. And that's been great for our organization. And I sense that other organizations throughout our community have done the same thing. So it's been a tough month or so, and it's going to continue to be challenging for us. But I see us clawing our way out of this, and we'll be better as a result of it.
Yeah. Let me add one thing to that too. Building off something Carlos said earlier too about Greenville's partnerships and coming together. One of the things that I found really positive in the last couple of weeks has been watching a lot of small businesses partner together to offer services for things. So you're going to go to X business and maybe you can also get dinner from a local restaurant. So if you have a business that is thriving and is doing well right now, and there are some of those out there, look at the restaurants, the boutiques, other things like that you might be able to help or partner with, because I think coming out of this is going to take a broad effort of partnerships, and the chamber's here to partner with folks, partner with each other. And I think, we can lift each other out of this as a community. And that's been something, again, I've seen in the last several weeks, in my travels around the community that I think is really positive, and I think will make us a lot stronger later too.
Great point, Jason. Yeah, we truly are all in this together. Before I turn it over for questions, and again, if you have any questions, please utilize the chat feature. I would like to share some upcoming ways to engage with the chamber. One, it would be remiss to say that if you're not currently an investor in the chamber, we invite you to become one. Please know we certainly appreciate the opportunity to discuss our investment levels with you. Tomorrow, we're very excited that the 29th of April at 10 a.m., we are hosting a virtual Coffees and Connection. It's an excellent opportunity to network virtually. We're excited about that. On May 5th at 12 o'clock, our young professionals have a program called Going Virtual: Tools, Tips, and Tricks for Success. May the 6th at 10 a.m. Join us as we have a conversation with Ernst & Young on potential claims under business interruption policy. And again, if you'd like to engage and participate in those, go to our chamber website, look at our events page, and you can register for those. As always, please reach out to myself or anyone at the chamber to help guide you through utilizing the chamber as a resource during this difficult time. And we'd be happy to discuss a plan for engagement and a roadmap with you, and the sole purpose of helping your business to succeed. So we do have a few questions, and I believe Jason had an opportunity to ask one, but feel that the community does have hope, and because of the way everyone's joined and volunteered together to support those in dire need. I think that was a comment. We've certainly been blessed with the engagement throughout our community as well. It looks as though that was our other response. Jason?
That was Councilwoman Lillian Fleming, who communicated that message of hope. And that's not surprising, because Lillian is a very positive person, and has made significant contributions to this community. Her leadership and that from our city and council leadership has been phenomenal. And it's great to see city and county working together to try to overcome this. I mean, it's times like this, a community can go one of two directions. Some communities, the politics are splitting the community, but we seem to refuse to let that happen here in the Greenville area. So it's great to see our local politicians, state, and even our federal delegations working together again to ensure that we come out of this thing better than when we entered it. So I'm heartened by that.
Great point, Carlos. Spot on. Thank you. Not seeing any other questions, and as our time is drawn to a close, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Carlos and Jason and all those who have attended today's Community Matters. Please note that a recording of this webinar will be shared on our Greenville Chamber's website and sent to attendees along with a survey. So if you would please provide that feedback utilizing the survey link. It's very helpful for us in reshaping our programming as we go forward. Don't forget that this is part of an ongoing series, so we certainly look forward to the next one that we have this coming Thursday. We hope that you continue to tune in for our updates from the community, and I wish you all a great day and be well. Thank you all.